Here is the most recent sighting in the area. Derek H. writes RMSO. Here is what happened. I got off work on May 23rd, 2023 and went out to my patio to relax for a bit, looking at hummingbirds with my binoculars. This was approximately 3 p.m. For some reason, I decided to scan the top of the mountains behind my house for wildlife. I was looking up at the skyline and saw something that looked out of place next to the trees and snow. I thought to myself, I wonder if it will move. Then sure enough, it started moving. It was bipedal and dark in color and started walking down the slope of the mountain. It looked tall next to the trees it passed, but it was too far away to guess height or weight. It did look somewhat lean as it walked. It paused a few times at first, and then really picked up the pace walking down the slope against the skyline. I was amazed at how fast it was walking, and it didn't take long for it to disappear behind some trees. The entire episode lasted approximately 20 seconds. I continued to scan with my binoculars but couldn't see it again. I estimate the distance from my house to top of that mountain to be about 1.5 miles as the crows fly. I kept asking myself, what else could it be? Unless that was an NBA basketball player wearing dark clothing and walking up in the mountain on a hot day. Then what I saw is what I believe to be Bigfoot. It was a surreal experience, and I still can't believe I saw my first Bigfoot. I will never forget it. Thank you for letting me report this to you. I've only told my family members and yourself and would prefer to remain anonymous. We really appreciate you sending us this Bigfoot sighting. I have been up into those mountains near where your sighting was twice since you have had your sighting. It's just an amazing place with forest, alpine forest on one side, high desert on another side. There are amazing rock formations, and we just saw dozens and dozens of caves. Not saying Bigfoot lives in a cave or uses it as shelter, but if it would like to, they're there, and plenty of water sources. Great place, close to a lot of different sightings.
Am I filming in the right place?
Let's see. Yeah, that's it.
And where?
So does it just looking at that? Yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So that's the snow that you saw him with?
And then he went down there and lost him down there.
And he went off to the right there.
Now,
so was he taller than those light-colored trees?
Let me see. Get a gauge on him.
So you saw him just barely above that snow
Just
pack
above the
then.
snow, yep. And then his trail took him all the way down the slope against the skyline. Down that tall tree sticking up above the skyline. And then he disappeared in the canopy.
Okay.
And I'm going to say... Gosh, I don't know. I want to say he was half as tall as those trees sticking up. But it's... so hard to say.
Nope.
I don't want to tell you and be wrong, but he was probably tall as half the size of those trees.
Was he in this clearing at all?
Okay, there's the snow. Yep.
So he ran that way?
Right down the skyline. And then right in there is where he lost him right there.
Lost him into those.
That canopy, that shorter tree canopy.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Well, definitely ridge walking.
Yeah.
What's cool is this time of year I get a lot of sightings where people see them down at the river in the willows. I think they come down off the ridges down into the willows and eat the shoots of the willows just like the moose will. It's just speculation of why they would be in the willows during this time of year, but they're getting fresh shoots and moose love them, or maybe they're hoping to get the moose coming in.
Did you say about a mile and a half or something?
I would say about 1.5 miles.
I have a hard time judging.
You saw it on the snow or by the snow?
Right above the snow. Right above the snow area.
This center peak between the thick trees and everything? Okay.
Center peak in the back.
You saw him standing right above that little patch of snow.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then he went off to the right from there?
Right down that slope. first he hesitated for a while, like he was, I want to say he acted like he wasn't sure what the heck's going on, and then he just took off, looking down that slope.
Probably looking where he wanted to navigate,
Uh-huh.
or he was after something.
Yep. Like, it's not hunting season, is it, in Utah right now?
No hunting season. Ridge walker.
Timing was perfect. Can't get over it. And you gotta wonder if there's one. Isn't there usually more than one?
In my experience, when we find tracks, if we can spend some time looking around, we can usually find at least one more set, sometimes more. I think they travel and hang out in groups of 2 or more. My stereotype when I first started doing this is just a one lone creature all the time.
Right.
And then once we started finding places with tracks, I started going, oh wow, I got to throw away that stereotype. I know some good areas we go into. Sometimes we know we're gonna find some activity because we're getting our gear on down at the dirt roads or whatever. In the car, you'll hear a good old wood knot
Really?
up in the forest, and they'll put a family sentry at where people will most likely come up into their canyons where they're at, and the one wood crack, I think, is to let the rest of them know that they're coming. And then a lot of times where you hear that, you'll sometimes hear you being paralleled, or every once in a while you'll hear a wood knock or two, or a whoop, and
Right.
I think that's to let the clan know where you're going. And
Makes sense, huh?
you'll find a spot where that stuff happens a lot and you take it for granted, and then I think they move on to a new location.
Yeah, he just booked it down that slope in no time flat. Disappeared in those trees on the bottom there. The lighter green ones, where there's a whole bunch of them, like a at the bottom of that slope as you go down there.
We're up here investigating a Bigfoot sighting that just happened a few days ago. And so whenever you see a cave that you can get to, it's fun to look around for any type of evidence. Some people think that Bigfoot may dwell in caves.
Rocky Mountain Sasquatch. We are searching for Bigfoot right after a recent daytime sighting along the Wasatch Mountains, in an area where we receive a lot of reports, including my own just a couple of years ago and less than 10 miles from this most recent Sasquatch sighting location. This most recent sighting of the elusive giant was on a mountain ridge near Providence. The witness watched it through a pair of binoculars as it traversed a mountain ridge for about 15 to 20 seconds before the Sasquatch disappeared into the tree line. Last fall, 2 deer hunters were confronted and seemed to be challenged by a large Sasquatch in the north on the Midnight Mountain. There have been 2 other past reports of an aggressive Bigfoot harassing hunters and campers at the same location. My sighting is less than 10 miles as the crow flies from this most recent Bigfoot report. I saw it watching Jen and I in the rearview mirror just as I was going to back out of a dirt road turnoff on a day we were getting ready to service some game cameras on a mountaintop that has 7 Bigfoot sightings over the last 40 years from people I know personally. Less than 2 miles south, about 6 months before my Bigfoot sighting near Derry Ridge, is where Matthew Anderson faced off with 2 large male Sasquatch traveling through the snow. Our team came to investigate that same day and found hundreds of Bigfoot tracks from the 2 different size individuals all over that mountaintop. More recently, last summer and fall, 2 women in 2 separate incidences saw Bigfoot near Beaver Mountain. One saw a Bigfoot while she was horseback riding and was alerted to it following and watching them because her husband's horse was spooked, more than likely from the nearby Sasquatch. The other sighting that fall was a woman out deer hunting, and she watched the Bigfoot walk across a boulder filled clearing before it disappeared into the tree line. These boulder fields are just so rough to hike across. Most times when we come up to these boulder fields, we'll walk around them instead of taking the straight line because some of them are slippery and dangerous, rough going, and she said that this Bigfoot had no problem crossing that boulder field. A few months before Matthew Anderson's sighting, there was 2 deer hunters that filmed a Bigfoot walking along a creek bed in a place known as the North Sinks. A size comparison revealed this Bigfoot was a foot or 2 taller than a 6-foot man and was twice as wide and twice as thick. A massive Sasquatch compared to a tall man.